today we are going over the definitive solution to the question, how long is it going to take to get to Renown 18? How much do I have to do to get to Renown 18? How much of a grind do I have to do? Why? Because at Renown 18 of the Kareshi Trust, the new open world Renown faction in 11.2, you get to be awarded with the ethereal Augment Rune, your permanent, endless Augment Rune in this patch, which also happens to be pretty much the only combat reward of the faction. You know, besides very low level outdated gear, some outdated crests, and then some mounts and pets and toys, pretty much the only good reward here for your player power is going to be your Augment Rune. So the basics of the faction is that after you have done everything this week, which includes things like the Sojourners of Karesh to do all of the storylines, the side quests, because they give you between 350 and 500 rep for all of these, as well as collecting the lore objects in Karesh, because it's 250 rep each, as well as doing the 3 main chapters of the story, because it's 2000 rep per chapter, as well as doing the weekly quest here in Dornogal, the dungeon one, the one for the rookery in EU that gives you the 1500 rep per the faction you want, as well as doing the 2 weekly quests available right now in Karesh. Once you've done all of that, a few of the world quests and rare kills, you should have gotten past Renown 8. So to get from Renown 8 to Renown 18 is 25,000 rep. The TLDR is that even with grinding, even with spending some time doing some grind, even in the more optimistic result is going to be Renown 18 on the reset of September the 9th in NA and September the 10th in EU. So this means essentially reset 1 of the raid, reset 2, reset 3, reset 4, and at the beginning of reset 5. So after 5 resets from now is when you can get to your Renown 18 with some grinding. So what are you gonna get in 5 resets? Well, you're gonna get the 5 different dungeon weeklies here in Dornogal, so 1500 rep per turn-in 5 times, so it's 7,500 rep from those turn-ins. Then you have the weekly quest of the one that has triggered quite a few players, the more than just a phase weekly, the one where many players claim to be stuck at high percentage without being able to complete it. Well, that is going to be available every week in Karesh, which is going to be 300 rep per turn-in. So 5 resets, 5 turn-ins, 1500 rep. Then you have the second weekly, which is the one you got in Tazavesh, the contract, the wanted poster contract for you and defeat the rare. That's 400 per turn-in. So you will do it 5 more times, that's 2k rep. We will also get next week the final chapter of this story, or rather what matters is the 4th one, the Shadows and Guard. This is the one that also gives you 2k rep. The last one is just the one to go and defeat the last boss of the raid, the one that, like previous seasons, awards you with the Enchanted Runed crest for free. That one supposedly doesn't have the 2k rep reward, so you only get 2k rep from the 4th chapter of the story. On top of this, the 4th chapter of the story will also introduce you to the 3rd weekly quest available in Karesh, which will be the Ecological Succession. It's basically you playing Zookeeper in an ecodome. Once you have done the storyline, you will unlock the actual world quest, the actual weekly for the event, which is going to be also 300 rep per turn-in, and you will get to do it 5 times. So it's another 1500 rep reward. So at the end of all of this, as you find yourself on September the 9th or September the 10th, you will have gotten 14,500 rep just from weeklies. So just from doing those weeklies, you will have left to grind 10,500 rep. Well, we have exhausted all of our easy sources of rep, so now it's time to get on with the grinding. So, the first grinding, which is going to be also the easiest, very simply because it's the shortest, you have to defeat all of the 19 rares in Karesh, the purple ones. Well, it seems like a drag, but you know, they reset once a week. So, if you do them once per week for all of them, you get to bring home, after 5 resets, 1,140 rep, which would leave you with about 9,360 rep left. As for the actual time-consuming grind, well, one is the world quests. Don't forget that every world quest in Karesh itself is still with the Karesh faction. You see at the top of the world quest, the Kareshi Trust, so it's 50 rep. It's 50 rep per world quest turn-in. And world quests do reset bi-weekly, so they have the reset, of course, on Wednesday, Tuesday, and then they reset midweek on Friday, Saturday. So you will have a refresh of the world quests here, and then a full one here, another one here, 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 and then on the day of the 5th reset. So even conservatively, don't forget that we can't even see the max amount of world quests here, because a lot of those will be essentially hidden inside of phase diving. So you will have to phase dive at one of the portals first to then go and find the world quest in the phase diving mode. So even conservatively, you can get 3000 rep by simply making sure you do the world quest in Karesh. So you go from the 9,360 left to about 6,360 left. And that's reasonably conservative. It's likely going to be even lower down than this number. However, now we have truly exhausted all of our sources of freebie rep. There is basically nothing else. We have done all of the weeklies, all of the one-time turn-ins, the chapters of the story, the world quest in the zone. The only one thing that is left is the contract. The Karesh Trust contract to give you 15 rep when you do other world quests on top of the one you do in Karesh, which can still give you 15 rep extra. So this means that if you have roughly still about 6,000 rep remaining that you need to get to Renown 18, at the rate of 15 per world quest is about 400 world quests you have to do between now and September the 10th or so, which is about 33 days away. So we're talking about in the realm of 12 world quests per day. That will be the main grind for you if you want to get to Renown 18 by September the 10th. The biggest hurdle, honestly, is whether or not we are even going to have available 12 world quests per day. For example, right now, me not doing a single one of these, there is about 24 here. And then you go into Undermine, there is just 3. So completing all of these, they will refresh between Friday and Saturday, sure, but then you have to go through Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday before the reset, still doing 12 per day. And there likely won't be enough world quests to continue doing 12 world quests per day. So this is still likely on a pretty optimistic final day, September the 9th to September the 10th. What makes this much more achievable is if you did all of this first week of rep inside of the Darkmoon Faire buff. Because this first week you should have gotten, as mentioned, at least to Renown 8. So it was close to 20k rep. Besides the first one you got for the first rank you got for free, so it's about 17 to 18k rep. So if you got all of those chunks of rep with the 10% buff of the Darkmoon Faire, that's about 1800 rep you got for free from the buff. That then you won't need at the very end, as you have to do daily world quests. So this would allow you to shave your 12 world quests per day down to like 9 world quests per day, which might make it more manageable for your world quest to give it time to refresh every couple times a week. But that's the timing for you reaching Renown 18. So basically, for pretty much every single guild in the top 50, if not slightly more, depending on how hard this tier will be, of course, this is irrelevant. They will get to clear the raid before they even get access to their perma rune. But still though, for pretty much every other guild, not to mention for Mythic Plus players that might still find in handy to have an Augment Rune, right, in Mythic Plus, that's what you have to do to get this as fast as possible. And even then, we are talking about September 9th, September 10th, 5 resets from now. This is the timeline for you to get to Renown 18, even if you're trying to speed up. Unlike seasons like a Mirja Seal Season 3 in Dragonflight, for example, there is no real cheese for you to get to speed blitz this faction in any way. At least it hasn't been found yet, so this is pretty much the slow way for you to get to Renown 18 still as quickly as possible. So with this done, being announced on this Thursday, this is what we had to deliberate to all of our players interested in knowing just how much they would have had to do to get to this Renown 18 landmark as quickly as possible. So now we can leave each other for today. We're starting the goodbyes as usual by thanking everyone for having watched the video, together with, of course, everyone else who has been supporting Competi for free by liking and commenting down below, as well as subscribing to the channel itself. Now, with this out of the way, thank you guys again for watching. See you guys tomorrow, and in the meantime, today we have been doing some spring cleaning all of our PC. Took only 3 exhausting hours. A bit late, since spring cleaning was supposed to happen about 3 months ago.